we have returned. You're listening to CSC Talk Radio. This is Beth Ann. We are in the final segment of today's show. It has been a free-for-all Friday. Boy, say that 3 times real fast. But I have something I want to share with you, and this is coming from the Daily Caller. It says, Cliven Bundy just filed another lawsuit against Nevada. Nevada rancher Cliven Bundy refiled a lawsuit against the government of his home state and county over the legality of the national monument established under former President Barack Obama. Bundy filed the original suit in January, challenging the December 2016 designation of the Gold Butte National Monument. Obama created the monument while Bundy was being held in federal prison on conspiracy and other charges related to a 2014 standoff with law enforcement from the Bureau of Land Management. Bundy holds that the national monument is illegal and is unlawful and would lock him out of land he had ranched and raised cattle on for decades. Bundy's lawyer, we need to get this guy on, Larry Cliven and Greg Mueller, who ran unsuccessfully for Nevada Attorney General in 2018, refiled the lawsuit after the original was thrown out due to a lack of any follow-up action, according to the Las Vegas Review-Journal. Bundy wants all federal land in the state turned over to the state and its residents. Nearly all land in Nevada is owned by the federal government. The BLM and other land managing agencies run 84.9% of the state's surface area. Bundy stood up to the BLM officials who attempted to seize the rancher's cattle in 2014. BLM's actions came after Bundy refused to pay grazing fees in the federal government for decades. Instead, now this is another thing. Now this is coming from the Daily Signal. No, I'm sorry, not the Daily Signal, the Daily Caller. And they have this partially right, but they don't dig deeper into what really goes on in the West. And I think that is significant. I don't think they do it on purpose. Perhaps they do, but I don't think they do. I think it's out of ignorance, because I am ignorant of how things go in the West with grazing rights and that kind of thing. But with the Bundys, we watch this. The BLM did take part of his cattle. They chased him down, and many of them died. He did lose some cattle. They say he refused to pay his fees, but what actually happened, my understanding, and we're going to get some more people on to talk about this. Maybe we should get Cliven himself on. They refused to pay, but what really happened was the federal government decided to change the contract. And he refused to sign the new contract because the other contract was what was standing. So it's not a matter that he just refused to pay his fee. Well, Bundy was arrested 3 days after that standoff, and we all remember that. It says Bundy's trial was dismissed with prejudice in January after the judge found that the federal prosecutors, why would they have done this, had hidden evidence from the jury that was favorable to Bundy's case. Why would they have done that? Yesterday, we had Walter Myers on with PNI. I want you to look at that website, thepni.org. Look at that website. And again, I'm going to recite from this Williamsburg Resolve, and I want you to stop and think about everything we've talked about today, or everything we've talked about this week, or the last several years. What is going on in this nation, and how much do you really care? It's not enough to talk about how bad things are. We've got to come up with solutions, and I do believe PNI has a solution. And again, you are the solution. They've got a plan. I don't know anyone else who has a plan. Check out thepni.org. Today, the challenge comes from our own federal government, a government that has defied, and that now ignores virtually every constitutional limit fashioned by the framers to confine its reach and thus guard the freedoms of the people. Remember, this is coming from me, not this document. God created man, so God is number one. Man is number two. Man created the states. That is number three. The states got together, the irony is, for efficiency, and created the federal government just to hold the states together, not to dictate over the states. The states were to remain sovereign and independent, as were the individuals. We serve a sovereign God. We are sovereign individuals. We are supposed to be sovereign states and a sovereign nation. Back to the document. In our day, the threat to self-determination posed by the centralization of power in the nation's capital has been dramatically demonstrated. We call them DC occupiers occupying offices and cutting deals. Back to the document. The effects of intrusive federal government authority have been felt so widely and so profoundly that a united chorus of opposition has risen from town halls and state capitals, from community organizations and private associations, from enterprises and individuals across America. We're going to move on through this. Our freedoms are no longer safe when they exist only at the sufferance of federal legislators, federal courts, and federal bureaucrats. We are in a nation that is completely turned inside, outside, upside down. The federal government wants to remove God when God is the creator of man. Because man is to turn to God, not to federal government. So, they would no longer need their existence, would we? Go to the PNI.org. Check them out. I have a link, or I will put a link on the Facebook page for the show. Join the show. Watch the monologue on YouTube. Join the YouTube channel. We're trying to grow in that respect. Need all the help we can get here with numbers. Support Daniel. Go to powerthefuture.org. It's .us. I'm sorry. It's powerthefuture.us. Let's support them. Check it out. He does the research. It's a source to educate. Education is essential, but it is of no use if you don't become active. Educate and activate. In order to turn this around, in order to bring your liberties back, to put it back to God first, man, state, federal government the smallest, it's going to take all of us, millions of us, to get active in our communities to bring America home.